Are we live? Are we there? Oh, my soundboard not even shut yet. What am I doing? How y'all doing today, man? Welcome back to the stream. It's your boy, the Hip Hop Lobbyist, man. I hope everybody's having a good, wonderful, what day is this? Monday, March 9th. Hope you're having a great day. Listen, I know we haven't streamed since last week. I have not been in the morning. I've been sick, and actually I have been in the morning a little bit. One of my good friends, the big homie, Ladre Gilbert, good friend of mine, he passed away a few days ago. Well, they found his body. It's a homicide, ruled homicide, and just really been kind of mentally dealing with that the past few days. It's like, talking about men, life, and being a man, not being men, but speaking about life, being a man, father, things of that nature, and what we want out of life. Being black men who went to Florida A&M University, it was kind of tough, and somebody who I've actually kind of leaned on to say, hey, what were you going through, when your kid was this age, what they were doing and things of that nature. It's kind of like tough when you have somebody that you actually just want to call and say, hey, bro, how you doing? Tell me about what's going on in your life, and kind of uplift and go from there. But kind of down and depressing because he was a good brother overall, like any human. Nobody's perfect. He had his challenges. I think we all do. We all do across the board, but lost a homie. And that kind of fucked me up from the news, and honestly, just walking, talking, smoking, thinking like, damn, you never really know when this movie ends. You don't know how your story ends. You only can experience life for what you live, and it's really kind of fucked up and sad that there's so many challenges out there in the world that, again, you don't know how it ends, right? And I've been more bridling my tongue and not wanting to speak, and then I end up coming down with a cold. Again, I'm real nasally, sneezing, coughing. I got a little bit of this flu, whatever is going on in the world, but it's been kind of fucking me up. Been a long week, really, because my dog. They say honestly, it was 2 weeks before they found him, and that's the fucked up part about anything. It's kind of like, damn. I hear all the time that men die alone, like more than anything between suicide and everything else, men die alone. But that one hit close to home because, like, damn, my dog was gone for 2 weeks. People called, and I called other people, and it's like, damn, like, where my dog at? And you find out, they're gone. So it's kind of sad. So I haven't really been in the, oh yeah, I want to stream, I want to get there, because I want to grieve a bit, and then, get back to life. But then also you just see life keeps going, because I was traveling a lot last week. Had to get down to Broward County, dealing with a lot of issues regarding one of my clients. As you know, I'm a professional lobbyist. I mainly do a lot of work in the state of Florida, or the Tallahassee, on the state level. But I've been hired to work on a project in South Florida regarding a land development deal. Let me put it that way. And on that land are some mangroves. Now, I'm not huge on the, hey, tear down mangroves, let's, develop or whatever. I'm not there, right? But for this issue, the greater thing is that the county, even though this is an environmentally sensitive area, the county owns these mangroves commercial. So because of that, I've been having to go to South Florida, meet with mayors and city council members, and have a lot of things happening. But then the social media activists, environmentalists, they're out there. They've been giving me hell and all kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? Just basically saying, hey, you got to protect the mangroves. It's what they're doing. My client's Jewish. So it's a fact of, they're trying to make this, he's Israeli, he's this, he's that. It's like, bro, he's been in the city for 25 years. Like, he's been a business owner here the whole time. He's trying to expand his business. He bought this property to help expand his business. He has some environmental issues, but his own commercial. And I think the bigger part for me is kind of like, and I'll get into some other stuff, because I only got like an hour and some change here. The bigger thing to me is kind of like, people have misguided energy sometimes with politics, right? Because they're mad at my client for filing a permit to develop his warehouse, right? And all the other warehouses, like, why should he be forced to rent space from somewhere else? Why can't he go build his own, right? But then at the same time, it's like, why are you mad at us for doing a permit when the county is the one that zoned no commercials in the first place, right? So there's no in between there, right? And it's like, the common sense part of that never gets to the narrative because it's clickbait. It's like, what do we have to do? What do we have to say? to garner attention, get some clickbait out there, all the other shit. And, it gets to a point of saying, yeah, cool, but it's misguided energy. You got people threatening my client, basically saying, all right, cool, yeah, we should get violent about this. Politicians aren't going to do anything. They're going to make this little Tel Aviv. And I'm like, bruh, he's been here 25 years in business, in the fashion industry. And when you're going to buy his product, it's never an issue, but now he want to expand, it's an issue because of technicality. Now, we're going to work out a deal. I think that's the biggest thing is, like I say, lobbyists are like sports agents. So we're going to cut a deal one way or another to get what we need, because we didn't do anything illegal. That's the bigger part about it, is we did nothing illegal. It's just a fact of the county staff's on this stuff commercial. We didn't. So we just went within the law. So that's the deal with that. Been traveling. I'm supposed to get back to Tallahassee, but then, is that a bump on this side? Oh shit, mouth all over the place, mouth looking crazy. Mouth looking crazy, chat. Pause that. But yeah, supposed to get back to Tallahassee to do some work, but then also it's like too much power is dangerous. The Republican legislature here, they have 2/3 majority in the House and the Senate, and guess what? They're fighting amongst each other and not being able to pass things through. And I get it, just because this is a session doesn't mean laws have to be changed. Cool. But then the whole process is just kind of delayed. So this is supposed to be the last week of session. They're going to come back. They're going to be redrawing districts in April, and they're going to come back and do the budget. And we'll have some more content from there. Hopefully I have some new Ray-Ban metas. If you don't know, I've had the metas, but then they stopped charging in like January. So it's been a bummer in some aspects from the content creation piece, because I really wanted to turn it up. But then at the same time, I also saw and realized that a lot of people have been turning against meta, saying, hey, we don't want them in our building, our capacity. Don't wear them here. We don't want the competition recorded and things of that nature, but we'll get there. However, this is the last time we streamed. This is the last time I was on this chat, y'all at least. I didn't expect the gas price to be where the fuck it's at today. Gas is like $2.58, $2.80 when this all started. It was like $3.50 this morning. They said national average like $3.32. I don't actually understand how Trump is sitting here doing this. It's there for Israel, because Israel's going to strike. That's what Marco Rubio said. And we got to protect, U.S. interests. Now we're 7 U.S. soldiers down dead, and it's kind of crazy. Rest in peace to these soldiers who put their life on the line for our freedoms, to be fair and respectful. At the same time, it's like, what the fuck? Nobody voted for this. Nobody signed up to fight Iran for the nuclear programs. And something I read yesterday was like, it costs Iran maybe $32,000 to put one of their drone ballistic missiles up and send towards Israel, right? Cool. It costs us like $1 to $4 million to shoot that bitch down. And they have mountains full of these. So they just sitting here like, yeah, set off some more, because they know that potentially the U.S. cannot withstand and maintain that threshold. And at the same time, it's like, wait a minute, what? They're talking about Trump going to nuke them. Nick Fuentes is saying it. Candace Owens is saying it. And if the right-wing conservatives, who have honestly quietly picked up a lot of traction within the Republican Party, as in like digging a dagger into the talking points and the bullshit that doesn't really make sense to their base, that's going to be the fuel to the fire going to these midterms. Because I honestly feel that they're going to be like, listen, yeah, give it to the Democrats right now, because Trump is out here wilding with the bullshit. It's supposed to be America first, not Israel first. And I'm not saying that. That's what they're saying, right? But it gets to a point of saying that's the underlying narrative. And having a client that has experienced some of that threshold bandwidth is like, listen, hey, that ain't got nothing to do with us, right? I think that at this point, America's almost so volatile to where everybody's shooting from the hip. I even have people in the comments, who've asked me, oh, what's your position? What's your stance on Israel and Palestine and Gaza and everything happened? I'm like, I don't have a position. I mean, I do. I don't support the genocide at all, right? But at the same time, it's like, bruh, most people don't know about what's happening in their inner cities or in their own state or in their own communities, if you want to narrow it down. But you want me to have a hard on for something that's happening across the world. I get it. It's atrocious. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. Little girls' schools getting bombed, all the rest of the shit. I don't agree with none of that shit. But at the same time, I also have to realize, like, damn, okay, what can you control? What's in front of your face is happening. Right now, that shit's happening. It's impacting the gas prices. It's going to impact the food. So I don't support the shit. right? At the same time, I honestly feel as I'm watching the Florida Senate and the Florida House debate policies, it's like, you know what? There's so much happening in the world that you just can't focus on this end all be all war overseas in the Middle East. And that's it, right? But that's me. That's my take. Good to get that out, man. You know, just randomly freestyling. Honestly, my time management sucks. I'll be real with y'all. I mean, I get in a good groove. I wouldn't even say imposter syndrome or anything else. It's just like shit happens, and I honestly get in a funk of being like, I don't want to record. I don't want to be a husband right now. I don't want to be there. I want to be alive. I just want to take a break. And I don't know if a lot of men are feeling it. You feel me? Like, you don't want to really do shit. It's kind of like that hamster wheel of work, provide, go, work, provide, go, pay bills, work, provide, go, pay bills, work, provide, go. And it's kind of like, fuck this shit. Because there's got to be more to life. And I'm not just talking about traveling, seeing the world. You still got to come back to reality after that shit. It's just like, damn. There's got to be more to life than this bullshit. There's got to be more to life than wars. I've seen 9/11. I've seen the Virginia Tech shooting. I've seen fucking Columbine, all the rest of this. Oklahoma City bombing. Like, it's been a lot of stuff that you end up seeing throughout life to where it's saying, damn. Do I really want to deal with this bullshit right now? Do I really want to deal with the fact of, can we travel safe anywhere in the world without fear of something crazy happening? I don't know. But let me get into something that people may care about. I know my boy James Talarico did an interview. And you know, I get the post Talarico election stuff, right? Don't get it twisted. I get the post Talarico election stuff because there are a lot of people who are sitting here surprised that a lot of Hispanic, Latino voters, and college-educated voters were coming out supporting this guy with Jasmine Crockett, right? And to me, I lived in Florida. To be fair, I've ran a lot of elections in the state of Florida. But I've known from elections here that the Latino vote wasn't going to go black all hearsay by itself, right? It just doesn't happen that way. What happens is, respectfully, in states where you have a good amount of Hispanic, Latino voters, and then you have a good like representation of different communities represented, you end up seeing the breakdowns and the trends, and then you can kind of project and predict, okay, cool, this isn't a monolith. This will happen in Georgia, this will happen in North Carolina, this will happen in Texas, Louisiana, when you micro it down into these specific breakdowns, even with Asian American voters, right? How they all, again, I have a code, how they all kind of sway one way. And what happens is you'll have the post-election, I wouldn't say ignorant takes, it's just the post-election takes of like, hey, this is what happened, this is what's wrong, we need to rise up. The Latino voters, they don't know what they want. No, they told us. And the problem is, and I guess I'm guilty in this a little bit, right? I'll be respectful to myself, is you end up having a, oh, I never even checked to see if we were live for it. Yeah, you end up having a, damn, Stephanie, I didn't even check the chat. My bad, I shouldn't even check the chat. You end up having a block of people that are so upset about the election results, and they're sitting here like, damn, you know, now I'm not gonna vote in November. You gotta earn my vote now. Like I see somebody say earlier, my good man Kamara Williams said that to me. I'm like, you know what, it's kind of crazy because everybody should have to earn, every politician should have to earn everybody's vote. But at the same time, it's kind of like, damn, now this guy has to work extra hard. And I'm not pro Talarico, I'm not anti Talarico. He won't be on my ballot. But it's the fact of saying, okay, I don't think he's gonna win Texas, right? And that's my opinion because Texas is going to do what Texas is going to do. But unless the gas price hits $10 or the gas price or we lose a lot more soldiers, I think that may be the only thing, unfortunately, that'll really make a lot of people sit back and say, hell, yeah, give it all to the Democrats. But also at the same time, I for my Republican friends who said it, Nick Fuentes is causing some problems in that Republican Party. So if his narrative continues to be the base of younger, middle-aged, conservative voters, if he gives a Talarico endorsement, he may win it. But either way, I appreciate y'all tapping in for the channel today, tapping in for the stream. It's a random stream before I gotta get my son from daycare. But either way, let's get back to it. I'm gonna jump into some post-election stuff, random stuff, some news, and we'll see where we go from there. But I appreciate y'all tapping in with your boy, man. I am the hip hop lobbyist, professional lobbyist in the state of Florida. 16 years at it. A lot of people don't know what lobbyists do. We're like force agents to the process. Some people hate us, some people love us, but we make this thing work. Either way, let's get back to it. James Talarico, the CBS News interview. That's it. Hold on, my bad, y'all. My bad. Hold on. I just saw that the audio wasn't coming through on that. My bad. Oh, it's something with. Hold on. It's something with OBS.
Strategy is.
I'm gonna go back to 46 seconds because I don't know what y'all may have heard.
Texas State Representative James Talarico celebrated his victory in the state's Democratic Senate primary last week. He defeated Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett in a race that captured national attention. Now he's looking forward to a general election where he will face the winner of a Republican runoff between incumbent Senator John Cornyn and State Attorney General Ken Paxton. James Talarico joins us here for his first interview since his victory. Welcome. Good morning.
Thank you all for having me.
So it seems as if we've been hearing about Texas turning blue for years. I'm old enough to remember a governor who still looms very large in the state of Texas, Ann Richards. Explain to us what the strategy is in terms of how the congressional makeup of Texas means that it's been red for the last couple of years, and how you hope to turn it blue.
Well, my faith teaches me to love my neighbor as myself, not just my neighbor who looks like me, or prays like me, or votes like me. And that's because despite our differences, we all want the same things. A safe neighborhood, a good job with good benefits, a high quality, well-funded public school, and the ability to see a doctor when we need one. And so I'm tired of being pitted against my neighbor. I'm tired of being told to hate my neighbor. And I think in Texas, across the political spectrum, there is a deep hunger for a different kind of politics, not one that's rooted in fear or hate,
you seen his face?
but one that's rooted in love. And that old politics that we've been suffering under for the last 10 years, politics as blood sport, as trolling and owning, as total war, that politics is dying, and a new politics is being born. You saw it in this last primary, the number of young people, the number of first-time voters, the number of independents and Republicans who show up to vote in this Democratic primary is unprecedented. So there is something happening in Texas. We're building a movement to take on this broken, corrupt political system on behalf of all people in our state.
You mentioned politics as a blood sport. The combatant-in-chief has yet to weigh in, but he is expected to weigh in on the Republican runoff race. How do you think that will impact the race?
Well, no matter what
Talking about
happens,
Donald Trump, of course.
Yeah. No matter what happens in this Republican runoff, we already know who we're running against. It's the billionaire mega donors and their corrupt political system.
They got billionaires on the Democratic side too. Don't get it twisted.
Billionaires who run the algorithms, who run the cable news networks, who run the so much of the politics in our state and our country. They try to divide us. They divide us on an hourly basis by party, by race, by gender, by religion. So we don't notice that they are picking our pockets, that they are closing our schools in Texas, they're gutting our health care, they're raising taxes on working people while they cut taxes for themselves. So this is it's the oldest strategy in the world, divide and conquer. And what we're trying to do in Texas is bring working people together across all those divides so that we can take power away from those at the very top and bring it back into our communities.
So, Representative.
Now, I know that he's had some good interviews out there, and I'm not gonna, sit here. It'll be here at least for another month. People be like, oh, well, look at his personality compared to Jasmine Crockett. You can't compare this guy to Jasmine Crockett's personality, just not off race, nothing like that. They're just two different people. But I don't see the energy to be fair. I think that there's a mindset of voters, and I've seen it more in Florida, of course, with Republican voters, is they're electing somebody to lead, not somebody just to get along, right? And when I'm looking at Talarico right now, I feel he won the primary to get out of the, hey, we don't want to get on this, we don't want the loudness, we don't want the clickbait, we want the senator to be senatorial. But I also feel that people vote for a leader, someone that feel like, you know what, if it came down to it, this is the person I feel is going to lead and make the right decision. Now, I'm not saying that he won't be that guy, but between now and November, his personality will show. And at the end of the day, I don't know if it'll win, but we'll see.
Going into this race, it was really unclear who was going to win. What does your win signal, you think, about what Democrats in Texas, what voters want?
Well, I think people, again, not just Democrats, but independents and Republicans too, they're really sick of this politics that we've had for the last 10 years. I mean, it tears families apart.
But what do you think it was about you in particular that appealed to so many?
I think it's the movement that we're building. The fact that the first words out of my mouth on the campaign trail was that the real fight in this country is not left versus right, it's top versus bottom. And so we're trying to bring working people across
you say a lot of tricky words,
racial, cultural, religious divides, so that we can take power back for ourselves, that we can focus on education and healthcare and an economy where we can actually get ahead and live the American dream. I think that's what people are really hungry for in Texas and across the country.
Let's talk about the war in Iran. What are you hearing from your constituents in Texas about how they feel about this war that's happening right now?
Well, you know, as a millennial, I saw how military disasters like the Iraq War robbed this nation of young lives, of billions of dollars, of our moral standing in the world. And I worry that our current leaders are repeating those same mistakes. I was in Sand Branch, Texas, which is a community south of Dallas that doesn't have running water. It doesn't have basic sewer infrastructure. So every dollar we spend bombing people in the Middle East is a dollar we're not spending in Sand Branch, Texas.
And the crazy part about it is, this is kind of the ignorance of what he's saying, because you're highlighting that as if it's not most likely a state issue or a city issue. And now we're talking about the war in Iran and the money that the federal government's spending there, when in reality, this problem is an issue you probably should have fixed when you were in the state legislature, to be fair. And this is why I feel that a lot of members, again, poverty pimp, the issue, because they're playing on your ignorance, to be the fact of, okay, we're spending money in Iran to protect Israel, that narrative. It could be money for a city with no running water here, but this is a state issue that should have been brought up at the state. So you should have made sure that in the budget cycle, the 2-year budget cycle in Texas, that the money was allocated to the city for sewage, for drainage, and things of that nature. And I think that that's the part where people will sit back and be like, yes, damn, he's saying something. But in reality, politically, you're not really saying shit, because you're playing on people's ignorance. And that's not an attack. It's just fact, to be fair.
Or in our communities here at home, we're always told that we don't have enough money for schools or for healthcare or for our veterans, but there's always enough money to bomb people on the other side of the world. And so we can support the democracy movement in Iran. We can prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, all without bombing innocent school children or sending our American troops off to die on the other side of the world.
Representative, but are the leaders in your party, specifically Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, bringing that message home to the Republicans, to the president?
I don't know. All I know is what's happening in Texas, and people across the political spectrum are deeply worried about another forever war in the Middle East, and especially young people who are seeing not only gas prices rise, but they're seeing this affordability crisis that continues to go unaddressed by our leaders in Washington. And so I think a lot of us are mystified that we're starting another forever war instead of focusing on lowering costs for working people.
All right, Representative James Talarico.
No, that was a good interview overall. I think Talarico, if you liked him, if you didn't, if you've seen his interviews, he's going to be the same, I guess, in the middle guy. But the reactions, again, from the campaign or the loss has been kind of crazy. So I'm going to transition there to get off somewhat what people have been saying on TikTok, right? Because everybody has an opinion about politics. I'm not saying my opinion is greater. I've worked in politics for 16 years. I've helped elect members to Congress, put constitutional amendments on the ballot through the legislative process, and help get black kids money when they were still banning African American history and banning books in the state of Florida. So I'm going to share my insight. I also changed some election laws as well in the state of Florida. So I'm going to share my insight on some things, but I know that post-election, when people have emotions, they say they post a lot of things online. So we're going to check out some of the TikToks. I'm going to screen out anything that has music in the background because guess what? We're monetized on YouTube, and we're not going to take another strike for playing music in the background because President Trump fucked us up. President Trump has fucked us up by accidentally listening to some of his music, his intro music that ends up getting, us dinged and unmonetized and things of that nature. But either way, let's get here. Appreciate y'all tapping in today, man.
Because I'm not a Black American woman. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the feeling that I am getting is that they are fed up with the bullshit. They are the only demographic who consistently, since the beginning, have fought to save this nation from itself. And when they were able to, they also voted that way as well. But with what happened in Texas, with Jasmine Crockett's run for Senate, they are tired of saving this nation and in return getting a handful of spit. This nation is well and truly fucked. And all of a sudden, I am hearing from white leftists and so-called liberals and progressives, well, now Black American women, we need to join together behind the winning candidate, and we need to, oh, you all can kiss our collective asses. Someone tried to correct me by telling me that, well, Rod James Talarico was campaigning long before Jasmine announced her Senate.
That don't mean shit.
But Jasmine Crockett has global name recognition for a reason.
I don't know about that.
She is one of the very few in Congress that is confronting the fascism that is now in control of our federal government.
She's not the only one. She's just the only one with enough spark and spunk that kind of gives you that Real Housewives of Atlanta attitude, because that's really what's happening, right? People don't realize that. I realized that too early, right? That's why if you realize, if you follow me on Instagram, there are a lot of Jasmine Crockett clips, because guess what? I realized a lot of Black women love to see somebody get snappy and clappy online, just like it's a reunion show, right? So that's what really happens. And you have that really driving the base of it, but then at the same time, you have a lot of men who don't watch those shows like, listen, I don't like looking at that ghetto shit. I'm the same way, but I kind of like Crockett because she adds something else to the atmosphere, right? It's just another level of that. I'm going to clap back at your ass, right? But the issue is you end up having this false narrative out here from people who don't watch congressional meetings, never been in a committee meeting, never really paid attention to the political process, but they love it. All they know is Trump, but they love it, right? Project 2025. And then they have these opinions and takes and say, you know what, hey, this is what happened. No, hey, it's not. It's really not, because Jasmine Crockett was not the only one. She was just a firebrand. She was more snappy. She was younger with it. She was more that, again, Housewives of Atlanta reunion show. That's why people love Nene Leakes. It's kind of the same shit. But then there's some voters who are like, hey, you know what? I'm not with it. But we'll get there. I'm going to pay attention to the chat later. I'll see some comments. Y'all are wilding, as always.
And I find it strange because I remember up until she announced her Senate run, everybody was, you go, Jasmine.
Yep.
You take it to him, Jasmine. Continue to speak truth to power, Jasmine.
Yep.
So she decides, I think I'm going to run for Senate so I can get a little bit more influence.
What's up, Guardian? What's up, Bear Family?
Mainly from Democratic leadership and white liberals, you start hearing, ooh, she's too ghetto. She's not an appropriate candidate. She's much
Ryan, I'm going to
too
get your comment in a second.
Her hair and her nails. She is just not suitable. And so you all have elected this James Talarico, who I believe is just an undercover MAGA. If he wins the Senate seat and goes to Congress, most likely he will do one or two things. He will either vote along Republican Party lines, or he will change parties altogether. And Black American women are over it.
You know what? Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I'll be real. How are you as a brother saying what black women are over. This is kind of like when black women like to say, okay, these are the issues black men are dealing with. I'm sorry, sis, you're totally wrong, because I know brothers that are struggling with depression, with trauma, with financial issues, with trying to be a good husband, trying to deal with my ex-wife, trying to deal with child support, trying to deal with everything, but we can't speak on y'all issues, so why are we speaking on that? So why does this brother feel that he could go speak on black women's issues? I'm sorry, brother. Why don't you speak on your issues on why you feel it is what it is? Because they say, just like they chastised brothers last election cycle, black men are supporting Kamala Harris. Black men are, I had a call after the election, black men, they just struggle. Didn't we vote 75, 80% for Kamala Harris? Why the fuck is it still an issue? So brothers, don't speak on black women's issues. Let them, because we can't speak on them without it being an issue. So just let them be. That's all I'm trying to say real quick. Just catching that before it gets too far. Let's get back to it.
If they decide to sit out the midterms,
Why would they?
and after the midterms, fascists still control the government, so be it. That might be the only solution left in this final episode of the last season of the United States of America.
I think Rick Ross had a lyric
because you are white America, and notice I said white America, meaning white leftists and MAGA, refuse to confront your racism and your misogyny. That's why Jasmine lost, because she is by far the better candidate for that Senate seat.
And the thing about it is, sorry, we're cutting this guy off so many times, y'all. Just these post-election comments, I've seen the political hit. I really think it was a hit piece, but in the same time, it's like, let's say Jasmine Crockett didn't spend any money on TV. That basically it was social media, didn't do any mailers, didn't do any of the basic things that are actually needed to win elections, right? And it gets to a point of saying, honestly, you have brothers mad like this who really feel and felt she's the best candidate. I felt she was a good candidate as well. I won't hold you there. But then at the same time, it's like, are you bullshitting people? Like, are you scamming? When you're running for these higher offices and you're really not doing the basic things to actually win? You know what I'm saying? Because there's something that's tried and true to it, because you need to touch each voter 7 times. And that was before social media was what it was. That was the standard, like 2017, 2018. Like, you have to touch voters 7 times. Mail, TV, radio, in person, or text message, all the rest of the shit, right? Door knocking, what else is it? Radio, digital, right? Again, radio, again, digital, right? At least 7 touch points, regardless. But now, people have 3 seconds to decide. So you have to make sure that you do the basics, and then on top of that, but then the game of it is, and I'll do something else on this, and there's a lot of consultants out there, right, that are selling this new wave of getting voters in. We're going to do something unconventional, something new, and they're getting $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 invoices paid at a time, right? And I'm not hating, it's just great. Go get your money. But the issue is you end up having brothers like this that are so passionate around a candidate, so passionate about what they're bringing to the table, so passionate because they're speaking Democratic issues, and then they don't even invest in the campaign infrastructure to make you satisfied as a voter, as a supporter, to be fair, right? I think that's another issue that's really happening within black political power, black candidacy, black candidates, whatever, right? Because she did do everything the Democrats said. She did have very progressive and liberal policy, flying across the country, fighting ICE, and the same people she was fighting for voted against her ass, because it wasn't just the white voters, it was Hispanic voters as well. But like I said earlier, sorry for talking so fast here, we know in Florida that the Latino voters just don't lean black for what it is. It's just one of those things. However, these are the kind of brothers that are so upset at Democrats. You actually need to be upset at 2 people. One, be mad at you can be mad at Democrats, but be mad at Jasmine Crockett's campaign team for not giving her the basic infrastructure to really maybe flip this the other way. Because you need certain elements of a campaign. It's never going to go anywhere. The digital aspect, Zoom meetings, lives, podcasts, that's something new. But it's not the end all be all, because I don't even think she did half the podcast that James Talarico did, which could go into it. But then they also said he spent money on football, soccer. World Cup's coming. And Texas is a huge state, Hispanic state. Latino voters love soccer, Messi, Ronaldo, Mbappe, whatever it may be. At the end of the day, you got to go where the voters are. That's why you put it on TV, one of the touch points. But let's get back into this. Sorry for talking so much, y'all. Only thing I didn't like about this, for real, you speaking on black women issues as a black man, it's kind of crazy. Like, at least, why don't you speak up issues as a black man for what it is, right? Like, I get it. We can hear from sisters, they're going to say their points for what it is. However, that's the thing I think kind of falls by the wayside is you end up having these supporters, these surrogates, whatever, that are so like, yeah, black women's issues. Because what the Democrats will do is they'll come push abortion and women's rights at the end, right? Okay, cool. That has nothing to do with men's suicide rates. That has nothing to do with men's depression. That has nothing to do with the trauma that men, black men, white men, Asian men, Hispanic men deal with in America. And I think when we really start having that conversation and we really peel the onion back, we'll see that a lot of men are dealing with the same shit, right? But all of a sudden, nobody wants to speak to the issues, and you're talking about black women. Bitch, what about black men? I don't understand that. But let's get to the next one, man. Hold on. I see I have some technical issues here. I don't know what is up with my OBS right now. Hold on, I gotta wait. There we go. I don't know what's up with my OBS right now. It's just kind of skipping through. It was set up better, but let me start this over.
I want to start off by thanking Congresswoman Crockett. She is a colleague and a friend. I am so grateful for her voice and her leadership. It was an honor to run this race with her. To the Congresswoman's supporters, I know I wasn't your first choice, but I hope to earn your trust and earn your support. As your Democratic nominee, it's on me to ensure you feel welcomed in, represented by, and proud of this campaign. Together, we're going to do something extraordinary. We launched this underdog campaign 6 months ago in my hometown of Round Rock, Texas. And since then, tens of thousands of Texans have shown up to rally with us in every corner of this state, from Beaumont to El Paso, from Amarillo to Brownsville, and everywhere in between. We have recruited more than 28,000 volunteers.
I'll tell you this now. If Talarico could pull it off, I think the war in Iraq will help. I think gas prices, if the gas prices hit $7.50, Democrats winning, Talarico's winning. Don't worry about it. Gas price hit $7.50, it's gonna happen, right? Give it a couple weeks. But most likely, if he wins, he's gonna be the most likely the presidential nominee going in because he can afford to run unless they put a resign to run law in Texas, which would make him resign his seat to run for higher office. But yeah, I could see him be on that 28. I could see that.
Who are doing the organizing work all over this state. And we have shattered grassroots fundraising records all without taking a dime from corporate PACs. This is a people-powered movement to take on this broken, corrupt political system. This is truly a campaign of, by, and for the people. I want to.
There's no way that I could go through an entire opening monologue without transitioning to Representative Jasmine Crockett. She lost her pursuit for the United States Senate seats to James Talarico, 52.4% to 46.2%.
You got music in the back of this bitch, so I can't even run it, man. I'm gonna just go to the next one.
God can do, only God can do, only God can do, do 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 it, 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 do 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 do. Only God can do, only God can do, only God can do, only God can do, do 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 it, do 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 it, do 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 it, do 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 it.
And you think that they're picking cotton. You out of your goddamn
I'm gonna
mind.
get
I'm
to
gonna
this
remind you
one
real quick. The majority of the Latino voters for Trump here in Texas live in the southern border. You know what happened in the southern border? No. Why? Because neither you nor Kamala have the balls to go down there. I'm going to tell you what happened. Along the Texas border, poverty levels are sky high as it is. When you import a bunch of riffraff from third world countries and they end up in those southern border towns, they strain the resources for those people. Those people can't even survive. And then you're bringing in all this riffraff with a CBP-1 app, Ticketmaster, to the United States, and you leave them there. That's why our governor had to ship all the people out. And then y'all complain, oh, you were shipping all... Yeah, because you guys brought them here. You blue people brought them here to Texas, and the southern towns were suffering. Not only that, but there was violence across the border in Tamaulipas, in Reynosa, all those cartels fighting to bring all those people over here. Why? Because they were profiting billions of dollars. And your ass still thinks that we're picking cotton? Take that. No Congress for Jasmine. As a matter of fact, why don't you go run for Missouri? What did you do in Missouri that they don't want you to run for them? Oh, I know. Exactly. Because people in Missouri see right through your bones. So do we in Texas. Keeping Texas red.
Giving some of the savings from...
You know, the fucked up part is, just go back real quick, pause that. This is a Democrat. It's not, see, I think, and I saw this in the comments, right? I posted something about, hey, wake up, Democrats, this need to be a wake up call, right? For my live stream on election night. And the bigger part about it is like, oh, you know what, you gonna vote Republican? I know you gotta realize. This is internal within the Democratic Party, where you have Latino, Hispanic Democrats feeling this way about black candidates and Democrats. And white, college-educated Democrats feeling the same way, so I get it. My part is, and somebody explained this to me the other day, the homie, like, shout out to my man Cam, right? He said, you know what? People have a different perception of what woke means, right? You know, you have woke what black people thought it meant, then you have woke what DeSantis made it, right? And what conservatives and the whole GOP movement made woke. And then for black people, we have progressive meaning two different things, right? Where progressive for white liberals and progressive for Latino or Hispanic Democrats means something completely different for black Democrats. And I completely agree with that. I think most black Democrats think progressive is, okay, better paying jobs, a better education for my kids, and voting rights, right? While other people are looking at progressive and they're describing it completely different, because what some of these lily white liberal progressives, oh yeah, the environment. We need to make sure that we don't have any more development. We have enough housing, all the rest of the shit. And we need to make sure that black women have birth rights. And we're not gonna talk about doulas or anything else like that. We're just gonna say, hey, they're coming after your kids and crime and everything else, right? Because that's just their ideals of progressive. And then for Latin voters, Hispanic voters, I'm not even gonna assume or say something crazy, because what this lady kind of said in her whole piece, I may do a whole reaction to it later, is that some of these kids that grew up on the farms picking tomatoes and potatoes and things are now grown 20 plus years later, and they're land development attorneys, and they're doing real estate, and they're doing different things, and they progress in life, finance, and whatever. And it's like, you know what? Yes, there is a point that the beauty of this country gives is the fact of you get to grow and not end where you started, right? Which is beautiful. And I think the perception is, again, for progressive, is understanding exactly what it means for our Latino, Hispanic voters, because it could be something different, right? I remember in Western Palm Beach growing up, there was an Orange Grove, not factory, but Orange Groves next to us, and we had a lot of Hispanic people come in after to buy their essentials before they went home, right? And there's a lot of things of even remembering that there are a lot of kids who were there with them, the mothers and fathers that sacrificed, and it made me think, like, you know what, from this reaction, damn, you're right. 20, 30 years later, that kid went to school on a Dreamer scholarship or just being a citizen for whatever it may be. Then it gets to a fact of saying, damn, they're further along. So now it's to a point of saying, when you look at immigration, when you look at ICE, when you look at all these different things, you can see, like, yeah, some people, as I've heard, I can't say it all, right? The people that are here that look down upon the other Hispanics that are trying to come over, the other Latinos that are trying to come over, right? The border, whatever. But then it's a fact of, okay, what is true for y'all? Because if it's not Jasmine Crockett, if it's not the Housewives of Atlanta type shit, what is it that you see in this democratic ideology of the American dream of the candidate that you need? And I think James Talarico would be it. He did a lot more, they say, from spending the TV ads and everything else. But at the end of the day, I think that this isn't a fact of, hey, let's be mad at Latino voters. Let's be mad at whatever, you know, Jasmine Crockett. I think it's more of a wake-up call to say, you know what, damn, next black Democrats out there, stop caping so hard for issues that you know these motherfuckers not going to support you on. That's just my take, right? what it is. Let's get back to it though.
Go run for Missouri. What did you do in Missouri that they don't want you to run for them? Oh, I know. Exactly. Because people in Missouri see right through your book. So do we in Texas. Keeping Texas red.
Giving some of the savings from Doge back to Americans as kind of a dividend. Would you support that?
So no, we are not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do for you.
You are the most selfish ghetto congresswoman we have other than AOC. Both of y'all have millions of dollars and you could care less about your constituents and about the American people.
I'm wearing my Gucci sneakers. The clerks may get too mad if they saw my Jordans.
So ghetto and so greedy. The 2 G's. That's probably why you like Gucci. Greedy. Ghetto. The sneakers that you were wearing are about $1,000. Belt? About $550. And where was your big mouth in criticizing Joe Biden, the Democrats giving $700 to people that had ashes, the Democrats under Joe Biden that was apparently in the business of funding wars? We're giving billions to illegal immigrants. Since when are American taxpayers supposed to pay for illegal immigrants? And by the way, it seems like every week you have a new wig on or you have a different hairstyle. That can't.
No, that's just racist right there, to be real. Like, I get it, people pocket watching, and then people say, you know what, you're a millionaire because you're elected. No, I'll be real with you. A lot of these elected officials be broke as shit. Don't get it twisted. You know what they say, to be fair? They say that what the Republicans do here in Florida, when the Democrats file, they look at their financial disclosures. And that's how the Republicans like grade you on your acceptability in the process, because they realize that if you broke and you're in this process, you're gonna do a lot of what broke niggas do, broke motherfuckers do. You're gonna chase money, chase pussy, chase the cameras. But if you have some cash, they're gonna sit here and kind of respect you different, right? Then it gets to a point of saying like, damn, how did you go from negative $70,000 to $300,000 like net worth? Like, what do you do? People, they kind of respect it, right? So it gets to a point of saying a lot of people will look at how much money these people raise in their PACs, their leadership funds, soft money donations, and then how they're able to do it. Like, you can have candidates that say, you know what, I have $300,000. I want to run for Congress. I'm going to loan myself $300,000 for my race. Then we'll raise $2 million. And now that $300,000 I gave, that I loaned my campaign, I could get it back, right? And then from there, I'm going to buy myself whatever. Because she's an attorney too, she got money, but then it's like a fact of, you always have to worry about the bitch hating. To be fair, because everybody's looking at, oh, damn, Gucci belt, oh, damn, this. And I didn't elect you for this, and I don't know you to be that, so I'm going to project. And a lot of this, what this lady's doing right here is projection, because it is what it is. Like, I hate to say it. Nobody, like, if you judging somebody's leadership ability politically on how they dress, that's the you problem. But, whatever.
Can't be cheap. Millions of dollars on your hair, on your wigs, on your fancy Gucci. $5,000 can get people lots of wigs, apparently. This one was $269. And I really hope the Doge team investigates every centavo, every cent, because you and AOC are multimillionaires. How did that happen with $100,000 salary?
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about Jasmine Crockett. Let me again preface this by saying I adored Jasmine Crockett until she made that statement, because that statement is anti-immigration or anti-immigrant. And before we dive into that, let's look at the history of her comment about cotton picking, because 200 years ago, that's exactly what the Black community was doing. And Jasmine Crockett says, no more, never again. And she was a practicing lawyer before getting into Congress, specifically for civil rights. Okay, now let's dive into what she actually said. She frames immigrants as people who do work that not everyone else is doing, work that not everyone wants to do, which is correct. But Latinos and immigrants are so much more than their labor. She's not humanizing them as people. She's calling them people who work for the American people. We're not going to be exploited again. They will be. They will do the work. And I say that as someone who had family who were working in Texas.
And that's the part where I was kind of saying earlier, it's kind of like, there's going to have to be a reality check with some Black people to be like, okay, cool. We understand the narrative of our struggle. But let's be real to the narrative of people that have gone through these positions, gone through this American dream, this American journey together, and our narrative on how we classify these things. And you can kind of see from the word choice from who's not picking cotton, like a lot of people were upset. And I get it, because a lot of the Latino and Hispanic friends that I've met and known for years, I could see how they could be offended by something like that, right? And how it just, passes to say, hey, nobody's paying attention, but you never know. But I'm not thinking that's the end all be all, because again, I'm in Florida, And I've seen it. And even for races, you have like Miami, Liberty City, you have a black area that their current senator, great senator, Eliana Garcia, no issues with her, but she could easily be beat by a Democrat in that area, a black Democrat, because it's a black area. But I think Latinos are hard to vote against. Fuck the bullshit. So at the end of the day, I think there needs to be a real conversation. If black people want to understand, okay, how are the thick Latinos voting? We have to understand the narrative we're putting out there. We can't just be saying random shit like, oh, you know, we're not picking cotton no more, but who the fuck gonna pick the strawberries and the grapes and the cotton, right? We gotta be minding our tongue, just be fair. So again, for the thick Latinos out there, I apologize if Jasmine Crockett offended y'all. For the non-thick Latinos out there, I understand. But just know that black people, black Democrats, you have to realize that it's a new day and age.
You know, I don't want to beat a dead horse here,
but
you do know that most Hispanic families, I'm talking about the legal ones, most Spanish Americans here in this country are conservative for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, they believe in family, they believe in country, they believe in hard work. They believe that we should fight against communism and socialism because a lot of them escaped that from their country. And a lot of them came to America with nothing, built themselves up, and became very prosperous and successful. And they don't abort their kids, for the most part. But black people, on the other hand, we've been here for many, many years, hundreds of years. And we have yet to understand that the Democrat Party and their policies are working against the progress of our people.
Nigga, do you know it was a Democratic primary? Like, you know what? This is the part that really kind of gets me when people just get online and say, you know what? Yeah, these like you're a lot more conservative, bitch. This was a Democratic primary. Only Democrats were voting. This is like the ignorance of the process for real, right? This is the ignorance where people just get on and say, you know what? Politically, this is what it is. And I got high enough to make this point, and I'm gonna make this point, and it's gonna, hey, the click's gonna go, bitch. The click, bitch. It was a Democratic primary. The ideas you're talking about are conservative, but you're trying to make this what it's not. To be real, to be all the way fair, it's not there. That's not it.
I don't understand why you don't get that at this late time. So don't blame Latinos and the Republican Party. Don't blame them. Blame the Democrat Party. Blame their poor policies that we have seen just destroy this country the last 4 years and Obama before that.
It's always one nigga. It's always one. I really wish these niggas would read books. Not even that. You can listen to an audio book and be more knowledgeable than getting on a do-rag with an iPhone camera and thinking that you're saying some shit. I'm just sick of these niggas, dog. I get sick of them, chat. I'm gonna chat one more video. I'm gonna check the chat.
Going forward, I don't want no other black woman to run for a major political office. This country played too many goddamn games with us. Y'all did it with Stacey Abrams, y'all did it with Kamala Harris, and now y'all done it with Jasmine Crockett.
First off, Stacey Abrams' ass is really trying to hold on to this damn, I'm going to be the first black woman governor, first female governor of Georgia. And she's been holding a lot of good candidates back, to be fair. Kamala Harris' ass got pushed on the slate after being 4 years in the cupboard. Not my words, her husband's, if you read the book. So it is what it is, right? And Jasmine Crockett, I think she had a good chance, but we kind of realized that she fucked up with her wordplay. And not everybody wants somebody who's going to be on a reunion show, The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Make sure y'all like and subscribe.
Don't ask us to run shit else.
You know, instead of black people getting on the internet and getting pissed off with the fact that Jasmine Crockett lost, black people really need to wake up and realize that the Democratic Party, along with Jasmine Crockett, they did this to her. Jasmine Crockett played a very vital role in the fact that she lost. Jasmine Crockett is a rich, suburban, high-class, uppity, educated woman from Missouri. Jasmine Crockett has been to the best schools. She's been taught by the best educators. Jasmine Crockett's parents spent a very pretty penny on her education, getting her educated, getting her sent to the right schools, only so that Jasmine Crockett could waltz her butt into Washington, D.C. and start talking with an accent, start cussing up a storm, having a cuss word be every other word out of her mouth, acting like she's from the hood, acting like she's so down, and this is the only way she knows how to express herself as a black woman. The Democratic Party used her as entertainment, period. That's it. And black people need to stop acting like that's the only way that we deserve to be represented, but especially being represented by somebody who's not about that life. That's not how Jasmine Crockett was raised. Just how it's so funny to me that like T.I.'s his sons act like they're so ghetto and they're so hood, and you know, they walk around like they grew up not knowing where their next meal was coming from, or like they knew what it was like to have all the lights shut out. That's how T.I.'s sons act. N-word this out of their mouth every 5 seconds, N-word that out of their mouth, even though they live in gated communities and go to private schools and their parents have paid top tier money for their education. They want to.
You know why? Because that's what black people want. No bullshit. You have good members in Congress like Amelia Sykes, Senator also Brooks, who will make speeches that won't have the fire and the pizzazz that Jasmine Crockett has, right? And because people realize Jasmine Crockett, you know, being educated, everything else that you want to highlight for parents investing in her education, she did kind of realize that, listen, hey, you can be like these other black women that are in Congress. Sheila Jackson Lee, rest in peace at the time she was there, whatever may be, right? But you could be like that, or you could be different. And the fact of, yes, there is a getting along to be along in the process, but at the same time, she played to what the fucking audience wanted, right? The Nene Leakes of the world. However, people don't want that in their governance, which I think is kind of clear. And the issue ends up being, respectfully, that a lot of black politicians at the state level, not just in Florida, across the board, you can see it in Tennessee. Seeing brothers on Tennessee, brother out of Tennessee was on Sean Hannity the other day, and it was just his moment to snap, just to go viral. And you have to realize that a lot of these elected officials get to a point of saying, well, shit, what AOC kind of showed me is you go viral, you get the clickbait for donations. And that's really what it is. It's all about, it's a money game, which you can respect it or you cannot, but it's a money game to raise more money, not personal, but for their campaigns, for their notoriety, because they got to raise money for the parties.
Act like they're from the gutter. The Democratic Party used Jasmine Crockett for entertainment, and they sent her out there to pander to black people, thinking that the only way we're going to respond is if she comes out acting like a hood queen. And it's 2026. We're over it. Just like the way Kamala Harris brought out Megan Thee Stallion during one of her rallies and made it into a hip-hop concert or a rap concert. She felt like the only way she could get black people to show up was to have Megan Thee Stallion half naked, bumping and grinding, shaking her butt all over the stage.
Yeah,
the Democratic Party feels like there's one way for them to retain the black vote. And Jasmine Crockett was cannon fodder. So I'm not shocked that, you know, Jasmine Crockett lost. She should have lost. But black people truly need to wake up. If this is who you want representing us, then
you have to realize, again, this sister probably never watch any committee meetings, right? If you can go listen to Hakeem Jeffries, like 3 of his speeches, or listen to 2 of Cory Booker's speeches, you'll probably be like, damn, these motherfuckers saying the same thing. This shit is boring, right? 98% of most political conversations or politicians are boring as shit, right? Jasmine Crockett at least brought some newer energy to it. But again, people want a different mix of their politics, and everybody's going to be hard on it now because she lost. But if she would have won, it would have been like, oh shit, the viral moments won. But clearly it didn't. Next.
This Latina breaks down how Jasmine Crockett's strategies are just dated. It just doesn't resonate with the Latino community.
No. What do you mean, Jasmine?
Dallas County should have.
All right, brothers.
One of my favorite astrologers says, don't stand in the way of their destruction, their karma. And while I don't live in Texas, I really feel this today. I feel collectively as a black woman, and I've been seeing it across my friends, my family, and on this app. I don't even know that we're tired. We're just over it. We're done. The Jasmine Crockett situation was just a prime example that we can map it out for you, hand it to you, and you'll still choose white supremacy, Christian nationalism over logic, saving our country, protecting its citizens. So I'm not standing in the way of your karma.
You know, this is a Democratic primary. Now, Jasmine Crockett will still have to get through John Cornyn or Ken Paxton in order to win. So I get the overarching piece. You would have thought she would win in November, right? Collectively, realistically, a lot of the polls that had her down and losing to the same demographics of college-educated and Hispanic voters also had her losing within 2 or 3 points, maybe within tied at one point of Jane Paxton. Like, that's there. So I get the angst. I get the upsetness, but the reality of it is this. A lot of this shit, she may have lost in November anyway. So are you mad that you lost now, or are you mad that she would have lost in November? Because if Talarico wins now and he loses in November, you're going to be upset anyway. Like, damn, nobody would have won this shit. And that's kind of where I'm at. I think Talarico loses in November. Unless gas is above $7.50 and we're in active war in Iran. I think that's the only way he wins. But I think the common sense part of it is like, again, everybody can get in front of a camera and talk politics. You can have your titties out, you can have your hair blown out just to get some extra clickbait and engagement. Cool. But when it comes to some common sense, some political sense, a lot of what y'all saying don't even make no fucking sense, to be fair, right? And that's why you kind of have to honestly sit back and say, like, damn, Phil, are you going to say something? Like, no, because if you say something, you're going to be attacking black women. Well, fuck these hoes. You got to understand that you're wrong. And when you're wrong, you're wrong. I'm sorry for saying hoes. I don't think she's a hoe, but it's just the vernacular for what it is.
Jasmine Crockett lost for the same reason that Kamala lost. You guys are pandering to a certain type of black woman and using Cardi B. We are not the same. We do not need to be boxed in as a certain kind of woman. Kamala goes only to the hood to get her message out there. Her message is abortion. She doesn't talk about family planning. She skipped right over birth control, right over even adoption, straight to offering abortion and only speaking about this in the hood and going to clubs. You're using the same formula and losing over and over and over again.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
Jasmine Crockett lost.
All right, yeah, she had a good, I think that was a great damn point. Because it kind of gets to what I've been saying, and especially for black men, or men in general, because for some odd reason, I'm going to single it and niche it down there, because when it comes to healthcare, it's always abortion rights for black women, right? But it's never the next steps. How do we take care of this baby? What about people who are dealing with complications during the pregnancy? Do they need a doula? Things of that nature. How do we make sure these are there? And on top of it, it always ends up being a talking point, but something you never see. Check this out. Something that you rarely see is that talking point becoming actual filed policy in state legislatures, right? Or at least having city programs or county programs that are designed specifically for that. What you'll have is a lot of people placating the bullshit and telling you like, hey, yes, abortion, abortion, abortion. Bitch, I had a kid during this time. My son's 4 years old, right? This morning, no bullshit, just being real with y'all, I got him dressed. He didn't like what he had to wear. And now all of a sudden, I get a message for my wife through the teacher saying that, yeah, he showed up to class with no shirt on, right? Because he didn't like what he had on. He wanted to wear another shirt. And I'm sitting here like, well, damn. I hear all the conversation, just sidebar, bear with me. I hear all the conversations about abortion and a woman's right to choose and everything else, but you're not talking about, okay, how do I be a parent right now in this situation? Do I go back to the old school? Hey, let me get the belt, beat you, straighten you out? Or is it to a situation saying like, no, that's cute, laugh, haha, get there, but I need you to understand, I need you to learn. So for people that never had a father, had father figures, but never a father, my sperm donor wasn't in my life, how do you do? So that's a part of it. You can talk to me about abortion all day. That's one way to get out of a situation, if you want to call it that. But that's not the end all be all. If I want to be a dad, what are you telling me to say, hey, fathers, husbands, dads, business owners, here's what's in my plan. I don't need Cardi B coming to talk. I don't need to have a sit down with Gary Vee at a campaign rally. What I need y'all to do is understand that when I get in, this is the first thing I'm going to do. I'm not just going to give you SBA loans. I'm going to figure out how do you help your business scale? How do you help that idea scale and become a deliverable item in the marketplace? How do you help deliver your MVP, right? And I think when you start talking the language that a lot of people in business, in fatherhood, that are husbands, that are providers, when you start speaking their language, you kind of get it. And you can kind of see from what this black woman said, it's kind of like, yeah, that formula y'all using ain't working. Why are you going to the hood talking about abortion? Why are you not going to the hood talking about education, improving the roads, improving the infrastructure, talking about, hey, let's bring some fresh strawberries and grapes off in this bitch? But that's what I'm talking about, right? But people don't hear that. Let's get to the next one.
Good morning, TikTok. We got to talk about it. I know we're beating a dead horse here. The primaries in Texas, James Talarico, Jasmine Crockett.
I'm going to get to the chat in a
It
second.
is so deeply, ironically unironic what the discourse has turned into, because it seems that a certain demographic of people did not learn their lesson after Kamala when they told the 92% of black women that they weren't going to listen to them and they didn't need them. Those people made the same mistake again in Texas by telling those same black women once again that they weren't going to listen to them and they didn't need them. But the funny thing about this particular race is the reasons people cited for choosing Talarico right now over Jasmine Crockett in the primaries, and now they don't want to use those same reasons to go into the midterms. Going into the primaries, especially towards the end, when the James Talarico fan base really ramped up, a lot of the reasons I heard were, well, he can reach out to Republicans. And I made videos about this weeks ago where I said, that's ironic because those same people supporting James Talarico said that they didn't support Kamala because she appeared with Liz Cheney, a Republican. That was a deal breaker for them. But then turned right around and said, well, we like James Talarico because we feel that he can reach Republicans and Jasmine Crockett can't. That's interesting. You didn't vote for Kamala because of that, but you voted for James Talarico because of that. Okay. So then, once again, black women in Texas and black men as well feel misrepresented or underrepresented or not represented at all by you guys choosing James Talarico. But now the rhetoric is, well, now's the time for us to come together. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Now's the time for us to come together. Have any of you considered taking your own advice and instead of trying to now coerce black women and black men in Texas to come together for you when you couldn't come together for them? Why don't you guys take your own advice and reach out to Republicans? Because isn't that why you chose James Talarico? Because he could reach out to Republicans? So since you're once again telling black men and women in Texas that you don't need them and you don't care about their representation, then go reach out to Republicans. Isn't that why you voted for James? Because he could reach out to Republicans? So
yeah, see, it's another uneducated brother about process. So I get it. Again, just simple on this one. It's a Democratic primary.
So there's a Latina that's come out.
Let me explain something to us Hebrew Israelites, us Hebrews. We're all crying, not all of us, but some of us are, crying about the fact that Jasmine Crockett lost the election out in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel bad. I actually feel like that was supposed to happen. Why? Why is this Hebrew telling you this?
What Hebrew?
It's because their affairs and our affairs, Judah, from the tribe of Judah, are not the same thing.
What is this bitch talking about?
Jasmine's hands have no business going into Esau's politics.
There she go.
Leave Esau to Esau.
It's always one.
Because Esau and Ishmael are going to wipe all of that land over there clean because it doesn't belong to either one of them.
How many years, how many generations we waiting on that?
Her hands ain't got no business in the middle of all of that politic foolishness that belongs to America. Because our affairs, our government,
there she go.
I'm talking about Jacob,
uh-huh,
are concerning the kingdom of the Most High Yah.
These black Israelites be pissing me off sometimes. You know why? It's simple. Now, if you listen to history, they talk about, they moved Jewish people out of Europe, out of all different countries, and they moved them in Palestine in the 40s, right? 1940s. That's 100 years ago. So what the fuck would you back black Israelites and black Hebrews in, right? Whatever. That's one. Secondly, It's always the part, and this is like, you have to love the conversation with these. Hopefully I'm gonna get one on the stream one day, right? But it's the fact of saying like the laws, statutes, and commandments, the governance, Judah, I get it. If you, let me try to get my words right. I don't understand, even in her statements, how you talking about some, the whatever government laws, whatever in Judah. This shit is made up. This shit is frustrating because it's fabricated bullshit. And when you press a motherfucker on simple, sorry for cussing y'all, when you press them on simple like logic, simple like, okay, what about the amendment? What about this? What about legislative strategy? It always ends up going on some bullshit, bro. Like, please. I just get sorry, Chad. I just get frustrated with shit like this. Like, it's just so funny that it's frustrating. Like, bro, please just shut the fuck up.
So no, I'm not crying. I'm actually happy for her because at some point she's going to figure out who she is. She's going to figure out what that war is all about over there anyways. It's got nothing to do with Judah. That is a sweeping off.
I think you're...
Not voting is voting. You do know that, right? You know that. Not voting is voting. It's just in the most unserious way. Listen, you know what really overcooks my grits? Every election year, people will go hard for their preferred candidate in the primaries.
Yep.
But then all of a sudden, if that candidate loses, then they refuse to vote in the general.
Yep.
Why? Are you trying to take some principled stance? Because it's not working. I don't know. It's always grinded my gears in this way because it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Primaries are for choosing who you want to govern. General elections are for choosing who will actually govern.
No, that's actually wrong. The primaries are who the Democratic nominee or the Republican nominee is for that seat, right? That's really what the primary is. So the primary is, you can have, like on the Republican side, 4 or 5 people run, or in this case in the Senate, 3 people ran to be the next the next Democratic nominee to be the next U.S. Senator from Texas, right? So just overall laying that out there. So a part of it is, respectfully, all of this is on Democrats. It's on the infighting of Democrats. If you're not voting, respectfully, a lot of people don't vote in the primaries. On top of that, a lot of people don't vote in the midterm elections. There's quietly like a 25% drop nationally between a presidential election and a midterm election. So if you say you're going to skip the election, understand that you're one of millions of many people who are naturally going to skip this election all across the board, right? And because of that, because of that drop, you have a situation where the people that you nominate have an important role because they're most likely going to be top of the ticket in some states, right? Where the U.S. Senate race is going to be higher than your governor's races and your state house races and everything else, right? If it's in that order, constitutional amendments last. So a part of it is you're picking a person that you want to be the Democratic or Republican nominee for the general election, then general election to decide who actually wins it all. So this is like the pre-tournament before we get to the finals. This is the tournament, the playoffs, basically, before we get to the finals. But you see who they're making out the bracket.
Your voice still matters. Because what's interesting is those same people will come back years later and say, why are they making all these laws? Why is the country all messed up? Why is it like that? And I'm like, well, you played a part in that. Not voting is voting. Again, it's just doing it in like the most unserious way to where you're making sure your voice is never heard. Listen, it's a free America. You can do what you want, but I'm just letting you know, it's very...
Not voting is voting. No, not voting is not voting. What are you talking about? It's kind of like it's a percentage, because what happens is you win based on the amount of shots you put up, the amount of people that cast a ballot, right? Whether they vote early, absentee, or on election day. Those are the 3 stages of a campaign, if you didn't know. It's not just election day votes, it's early voting, absentee, which is vote by mail, and election day. And those are 3 different demographics, 3 different mindsets of voters. I am an early voter by trade, but I actually prefer voting on election day. I don't vote by mail, right? So it's one of those things. So collectively, I would say, you know, being short, this brother didn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Let me get to the chat real quick. I appreciate your tapping in. He's right. Hi, Greg, what's going on? Zero sum thinking isn't working. You're right. Look at New York. Andrew, preach it, girl. Or what? Talarico is at least a Texan. Okay, Aaron, I think she was a Texan too. Black women not needed. I think black women are still needed. I just think that black women need to honestly open up the fact of they're not the end all be all on how these races end up going. And I think that was more transparent yesterday. And I think the bigger conversation that, especially the Supreme Court gets to it, is Louisiana versus Calais case, where they're saying that, if you've been on the stream before I've said it, you've probably heard it a million times by now, that basically that majority minority districts are mainly black Democratic seats because white and Hispanic voters, white voters specifically, do not prefer voting for a black candidate, and that they're disenfranchised in majority minority districts. So now you have a majority minority state in Texas where the black candidate lost and the other candidate won, and you're seeing the breakdowns of it. And I think a lot of this commentary, a lot of this post-debate stuff really get to a point of saying, all right, cool. Yes, these white Democratic voters could be disenfranchised. The other part of it is like, shit, hey, like, what about the black voters? What about Hispanic voters? Because it'll be a bigger play. But we'll see how the Supreme Court rules on that. Let me get back through the chat. I appreciate y'all tapping in with your boy today, too, man. I know I'm talking fast. It's almost 5 o'clock. I might have to get out here and get my son from school today. When does Donald Trump come to the hood? Shit, damn near never. I'm like, ain't smart either. She didn't bring one bill to the floor. You know how hard it is to get a bill to the floor, Aaron? Like, people always say that, and I'll make it full screen for me real quick for anybody tapping in, especially, thank y'all. People always say, yeah, you know, she didn't pass a bill, she didn't bring a bill to the floor. A lot of people don't know what it takes to get a bill even heard in committee or even to the floor, because here's the process, to be fair, right? Stick with me. So you have an idea on, oh, we're going to get some legislation passed. It doesn't happen that way. What happens is, after you file it, you have lawyers that actually look at it, called bill drafting. They'll go ahead and they'll draft the bill, like a draft of it, the language. What you'll then do is most likely send it to the lobbyists, so the people that, you know, say, hey, is this what you're looking to actually get done? And they'll say, yeah, you know, this is it. We had some sample language, we didn't, we think this is better, or, you know, implication of the law, whatever, we'll get it filed. So when it's filed, then it gets referenced to different committees. And that's all based on leadership in that specific chamber. Let's talk about the House, right now. So from there, the bill gets referred to 3 or 4 different committees, 2 or 3 committees, whatever it may be. But the more committees it's referenced to means that leadership doesn't favor it. So it's a lot more work. And each committee ends up being a stopping point. So let's say it's an elections bill, right? Hypothetically speaking, first we'll have to go through state and local government or government affairs, right? Because it's dealing with local and state elections. Then it has to go to the primary elections committee. Then it'll have to go to the appropriations committee. And those 3 stops will happen because it has to deal with the policy on how it's going to impact state and local governments. Then it has to go to the bigger elections committee that's dealing with all elections policy. Then for any fiscal part that may be to supervisor of elections, to a local county government, to a city, how they administer elections, say that supervisor of elections are different things, different titles, different states. Like all that money will be allocated in that. Damn, I need some water. Hold on, y'all. Oh, like a crackhead. Let me get some water, check. That's crazy. I'm dehydrated and shit. I heard one of the guys said, don't put no label water in your stuff. It'll stop you from getting future sponsorship. So either way, let's get back to it. Appreciate y'all. So you get the bill filed, it gets referred to these different committees. So you got your first committee stop, state and local affairs, right? Cool. What you have to do is work with that chairman, the chairman of that committee, to try to get your bill heard, just working with staff and everything else. Then you have to do that 3 times to get it all the way there. From there, it has to go to the rules of whoever's in charge to make sure it gets on the agenda for the House floor, and then it most likely gets up, amended, whatever it may be, and passed through, right? That's just one part of the process, because the same thing needs to happen in the Senate, right? To where the same references happen, the same things get moved, and it takes a lot to get a piece of legislation moved through both chambers. Now, you'll have the different markups, spending bills, they'll talk about the government shutdown, things of that nature. That's cool and all, but I think that there comes a greater knowledge of actually understanding process than it is just saying, oh no, hey, here's the talking point that I've researched and I'm gonna just spew this out here. Oh, she never got a bill heard. She never got a bill to the floor. She never passed a bill on the floor. Shit, do you actually know what it takes to get a bill passed? And I think the other part of it is where some people may have been like, hey, we're not Jasmine Crockett. We don't think she has the demeanor or the decorum to be in the Senate. That's cool. You have to also realize that people will legislate different. Some people want that kind of housewives reunion kind of style. Some people don't. And as you saw in Texas, a lot of people don't. But from Democrats at least. But it gets to an honest point of saying that it's not just about, hey, getting it on the floor. You have to understand the actual process. And I feel that if you understand the actual legislative process, it works. It's kind of like I was, and I'm going to look at it, I'm going to go in on it one of these days, with James Clyburn. And I think one of the ADOS folks put up on James Clyburn, and they were like, hey, you know, let me see if I can find it. Clyburn, what was it? Somebody put up on James Clyburn at an event, ADOS James Clyburn. And they grilled him on the bill. I had to find it. My bad on that. But they grilled him on a bill about the reparations bill, right? He's like, listen, for the past 20, 30 years, I filed the bill. And to me, it kind of sat back, you know, from my mindset of saying, all right, cool, damn. If you've been the House sponsor for 20, 30 years and you haven't been able to push this through, that means one of two things. One, you know that just telling people this shit is going to get their blood boiling and be like, yeah, you know, Congress not working. But in that same 30 years, people not thinking, well, damn, Democrats had some leadership in this fucking time, so why didn't y'all pass this shit through? Stick with me, right? So then it also gets to a point of saying, okay, who was your Senate sponsor? Who was in the Senate that was going to carry it? And how far has it gotten in all these years? Because you mean to tell me in 30 years you filed this bill and it's had no movement in 30 years? What are you doing? I think you're playing to the people's fucking emotions on the bullshit, right? And I think that when it gets to it, you can be respectful, I think, for people to have given their life to serve this country. But these politicians are serving their fucking ego. Okay, I think there's a difference we need to delineate to saying, okay, damn, I've served in Congress for 20, 30 years. After a while, like Al Green in Texas is like, damn, bro, holding up a sign of Trump saying black people aren't apes isn't what the fuck I elected you to do, right? I elected you to go get money for this community, get money for these programs, and to make sure that we can actually get money for our seniors. This is all about money. Don't get it twisted. Money for roads, money for schools, money for our seniors, money for healthcare, money for all this shit. Prescription drug prices being lowered, money. Living wage, money. Economic development, money. What the fuck are we talking about, right? So it's all money that we're talking about. So it's the fact of, did I elect you to go be a pariah, to attack Trump on racial shit that we know is racial? Or did I elect you to say, hey, we know the bullshit that's there, but how the fuck are we still pulling money down for my community? I think that's where we at, right? But either way, let's get back to some of this. Let me see what else I got. I got to call the wife. The wife called me a little while ago. I've been on the stream. She texted me and said she's going to do pickup. That's a good thing. Or, we got a contract draft. We're going to work. Guess what? You know what that means? We got to work. But I think Trump's live.
And under our pro-America, pro-worker, pro-family agenda, our country is winning again and America is respected again. And I think we have a country that's as hot as it's ever been, ever before, maybe hotter. And I say it all the time. The king of Saudi Arabia said it to me better than anybody could say it. He said, you know, I get along with him very well, very smart person. He said, you know, a year and a half ago, your country was dead, absolutely dead. We never thought it was coming back. And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's true. We're the hottest country anywhere in the world, by far. And that's before we showed off our military strength with Venezuela and now with Iran. You know, Iran was supposed to be this big, powerful country. We wrapped the hell out of them. And, you know, I don't know when they cry uncle, but they should have cried it 2 days ago, right? But they don't have anything left. In our country, inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising. The economy is surging. Our border is the most secure at any time in American history. And the murder rate is the lowest in 125 years. That's before my father was born. My father was born 6 years later than that. I don't know if he'd like me to say that. Never liked to talk about his age. He said, don't talk about that. But think about 125 years ago, 1900, the year 1900, the stock market has set 53 all-time record highs since the election.
There you
and it's
go.
going to go a lot higher as soon as we get rid of this
Here you go.
stuff that we're doing right now, that we really had no choice. I mean, I think I asked people, I said, would you rather do this or would you rather go along nice and smoothly, but eventually have a catastrophe the likes of which perhaps the world has never seen? And just about everybody says, except for lunatics, said, no, you had to get it done. Should have been done a long time ago. The average 401k is up almost $35,000. Think of that. It's at the best they've ever done. And I think you're going to see some real numbers when this gets, because this was always a dark cloud hanging over not only Israel, which was going to get wiped out. You know, if we didn't do that B-2 attack, Israel would have been wiped out. They would have
There
had
you
a
go.
nuclear weapon with
Nick
their
Fuentes don't want to hear that.
And even now, I think they were looking to take over the Middle East, because when you look, and we have pretty good proof, all of those missiles that were so stupidly aimed at Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, they were all aimed, and others.
You say a lot of tricky
at
words.
countries that were sort of like, leave us alone. They were all right. They were sort of neutral, but they weren't doing it. All of a sudden, they're getting hit with missiles. And they could have gone one of two ways. They could have gone toward their side, like we're with you, or they could have gone with our side, and they really went with our side, and they've helped us, and they've been a big force. But they got hit. But they were going to be hit with us. Had we not done the B-2 raid, and have we not done this one where we said, nope, it's time to go in, we have to go in, have no choice. Number one, if we didn't go in, they would have come in after us, because I see the Democrats trying to justify it, and they're failing because the voter on the street is saying, you got to be kidding. But I see where they're going, where they're always saying, no, there was no reason. Well, I'll give you the best reason of all. Within a week, they were going to attack us 100%. They were ready. They had all these missiles, far more than anyone thought, and they were going to attack us. But they were going to attack all of the Middle East and Israel, and if they had a nuclear weapon, they would have used it on Israel. And this was going to be a major attack on all. They had all of those missile sites and all those launchers that we got rid of, about 80% of them right now, by the way. Got rid of most of the, it's died down to a trickle. There are very few launchers left. What our military has done is amazing. They wiped out almost 20%, maybe 22, 23%, but the rest are going very quickly. And the missiles have been largely knocked out. The drones have been knocked down, and we're hitting where they make the drones. We know them all, and we're knocking the hell out of that now where they manufacture the drones. A lot of work, a lot of brilliant work, but we're going to have a much safer world as soon as it's finished, and it's going to be finished pretty quickly. With the help of our House Republican majority, we passed the largest tax cuts in American history, and we have to be talking about it. And with the great, big, beautiful bill, we delivered no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. And we did something else which is great that nobody ever talks about, Tom, and we have to talk about it. We made interest on auto loans fully deductible. That's never happened. We've never had that. Rich people always get deductions, but middle-income people, people that have to struggle a little bit, never did. But now they can deduct the interest paid against their taxes. We have one little proviso, and I put this on, it's very important, only if the car is made in America, all right? That's going to have a huge impact. That's going to have a huge impact. We passed the Trump accounts to give every child in America a head start on the American dream, and that's so good. It was, I'll tell you, the Dell family, Dell computer, put up $6,250,000.
Let me know, Chad, you got a Trump account?
Think of it. Started with very little, nothing, very, very little. Started making computers on his bed. And he said, yeah, people started liking them better than the ones from the store. And he never stopped. And he can write a check for $6,250,000,000. He said, and his incredible wife, Susan, they said that's the best thing they've ever done. He's so proud. He's going to do it again. Going to do more. And we have a lot of other people. A lot of very rich people are doing it. A lot of people that aren't so rich are doing it. They're doing it for their kids, but it's turning out. So a young child turns 18 or 21 and all of a sudden they have $100,000 in the bank. What a difference that is between having that and having nothing. And it could be more than that. It could be a lot more depending on what happens with the world. And we passed 100% expensing and bonus depreciation on all new equipment, factory construction and investments, and that's what made our first term. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country in the first term, and this one's going to blow it away.
I don't know about that, Trump. Gas prices went up 16% in the past week. I went from $2.50. I saw $3.50 this morning, damn near $3.80. I think it's going to hit $5 before we get to next week, bitch. I don't know about that. But either way, I got to sign off, y'all. The family coming home. You know what? I'll be honest with you. I want to stream a lot more, but I got to be a dad. I got to be a father, all the rest of this. But guess what? I want to thank over 20,000 of y'all who tapped in over the past hour and a half watching this stream with your boy. I think over 80 of y'all are still with your boy right now. I appreciate every single one of y'all. Guess what? All I ask. When you lay your head on that pillow at night.
When you lay your head on that pillow at night.
I gave you everything I got.
No, I gave you everything I had.
Over 20,000 of y'all stay with your boy there. I appreciate every single one of y'all. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you can get a notification next time I go live.